GameCola faithful, and welcome to the GameCola podcast. This is podcast number 129, Feeling Fine, and I am your host and podcast commander, Joseph Martin.
Hi, I'm Anna Bryniarski. What?
Hi, I'm... What?
Sorry.
God damn it.
I waited like half a second, and then I thought I heard something. I'm like, what?
You did.
You did. I spoke.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Dan, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dan Conlin. Mass Effect Andromeda is criminally underrated.
Hi, I'm James Pelster, and I do things.
Hi. I'm Matt Breslau. I'm a staff writer, and I enjoy long walks on the Nintendo Switch.
Matt, I seem to forget that the letter M comes before the letter J, huh?
Well, in between two J's.
Oh, do we actually do this in alphabetical order? Is that how we do it?
Yeah.
I said
that's how we're doing
I
it.
did not know that.
Because we had so many people. I said those words.
Those
Okay.
are words he said.
He did indeed.
You may not know who I am, but I am in fact the editor-in-chief of GameCola.net, Alex the Jeddy Jedraszczak.
I'm John. I do things sometimes.
You do.
So, yes, we have 1 million people on the podcast
8 million
today.
people have
It's
showed up
chaos.
for this one podcast.
More than half of them, their names begin with the letter J.
This is more people than I've ever known.
It's the GameCola podcast.
Ooh.
It's the Jame Jola Jodcast where it is Jidio Jame
I
and
hate everything about this.
just discussion and no, let's not do that word.
Yeah.
Let's not.
Featuring
that's an
Matt
actual
Breslau
word.
from the Devil May Cry series.
Hi.
So, welcome to this very well-packed edition of the GameCola podcast. Let's talk about some video game news, huh, guys?
I'm up
Yeah.
for that.
Better
First,
video game.
If we have to.
So, okay, I think that the first when I was thinking about what happened in recent news history, the first thing that came out into my brain was the news about Metroid Prime 4. Has everybody heard about that?
Oh, yeah.
I have now.
So the Metroid Prime series was a trilogy of
Never say that.
Metroid 3D Metroid games where like it was first person and you moved around. The first two were on the GameCube and then the next one was on the Wii. And then they made Metroid Other M and everyone was like, no, bad.
There's also a Metroid Prime game on the DS.
Yeah.
What?
I enjoyed Hunters, but...
Yeah. Hey, don't forget Metroid Prime Pinball.
that game rocks.
Yeah.
It's Metroid Spinball.
In any case, the return to form for that style of Metroid game has been very highly anticipated. And the unfortunate news that came out was that the game is being delayed. It's being delayed because it's basically being restarted. They're giving development to Retro Studios, people who made the original Metroid Prime games, and also games like Donkey Kong Country Returns and that series that people also tend to think is pretty good.
I see no downsides to this.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes longer. It takes longer, but
That's
we're
the only
probably getting a
downside.
better product as a result. So.
Over the years, I've gotten less and less angry about delays, though, because they've rarely resulted in a worse game.
Yeah.
But not, rarely doesn't mean never.
I said rarely.
I believe we could all look back fondly on Dukem Nukem Forever.
I was going to mention that, so I'm glad you did.
Thing is, that's
I
not a
don't know.
bad game, though.
Yeah, but
I don't think there's any way it
know
would
that
be.
it would have been better had they not delayed it.
I think it honestly, from what I've seen, it probably would have benefited from not having so many reduxes on it.
Yeah.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Of course, are we one to talk on that point, John?
Yeet.
So if you were looking forward to that, I'm sorry, we are raining on your parade.
If I might comment about it, I think I've brought this up before, and I've seen a similar sentiment discussed, doing the rounds online. But as unfortunate as it is that this game, is being delayed, and that it's going to take, who knows how many more, probably years before it comes out, it's refreshing to see Nintendo do this kind of thing. It builds confidence, actually. As disappointing as delays are, it's good to see a company owning up to the fact that the game isn't meeting their standards, that they don't think it's going to be good enough for their fans, and that they care enough about the quality of their products to actually say, hey, you know what, we need to take a step back, go back to the drawing board, and come up with something new, and keep working at it until we're sure that people are going to enjoy this product, especially in, you know, a day and age where a lot of people are mad at AAA game developers for pushing rushed games out onto the market.
No, we'll get to that, James.
Yeah.
We'll get to that today, James.
Yes.
Don't you worry.
Take notes,
But yeah,
Square
yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. And like, also, I think it's important to distinguish this. The restarting and giving it to another studio is different than like a game company where like they fail to make the game and then someone else buys the license from them and tries to, you know, pick up where they left off. That's a very different situation to, I think, what's happening here.
From what I understand, it's not that they're entirely giving control over to Retro Studios, it's that they are now partnering with them. Like, I believe that was how it worked with the... I don't know too much about the original Metroid Prime trilogy, but from what little I understand, I believe it was like a joint project. Like, they were talking back and forth. Retro Studios was handling a lot of it, but it was still being overseen and, like, still at least partially run by Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's always pretty hands-on with when they give their IPs out. I mean, they were pretty hands-on even with Mario and Rabbids.
Yeah, and, you know,
So-
and we all know how well that does tend to turn out, actually.
In more positive Nintendo news, while we're on the subject, who here is a fan of crossing animals?
I love Animal Crossing.
That wasn't the question, Anna!
and fan of cross-species genetics.
I haven't crossed any animals in my lifetime. I've had animals cross in front of me. On my way to work, I had a turkey run out right in front of me, and that was it
Oh, that's an
crossed.
omen right there. It's an omen of a decent meal coming up.
Yeah. Well,
You
we are
heard it here
going out for
first.
dinner tonight, so.
Turkey Villagers confirmed Animal Crossing 2019.
I have of news of Animal Crossing 2019. There have been rumors isn't the right word, I don't think. It's sort of there is a date floating around for the release
April
of
29th.
April 29th. Yeah, have you heard more about I've
Only
looked
the
into it a
April
little bit.
29th
Yeah,
part,
that's all I've heard
Okay.
also.
which is
Wait a minute.
17 days after my birthday.
Nice.
Means I can ask for it as a birthday present.
Yeah,
'cause
you
it
can just ask for an
won't be
eShop
out.
gift card.
There you go.
That is
But I like the physical game.
that comes out
Then
within the
ask for a
same.
GameStop gift card. Oh wait.
How
Oh.
fitting
It's
is
Amazon
still a
gift card.
thing.
How fitting is it that this comes out the same week as Mortal Kombat 11?
Well, I
How's that
mean,
fitting?
you know, I'm expecting Isabel to just be
Downloadable
dominating.
Yeah.
She has no fatalities, just friendships the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm
Fringe. I love the
ready
announcer.
Alternatively,
Fringe.
all fatalities.
Yes.
to
The announcer's replaced with Mr. Brazil.
I'm ready to fish and catch bugs and water flowers. It's like playing Animal Crossing as a kid again, I'm sure.
And tear Scorpion's heart out again.
Ooh.
I should point out that the news of the title's release date of the 29th is coming from April 29th. Is coming from people sort of inquiring into businesses about when they're expecting shipments and pre-order stuff. So it could be flexible. The exact date is probably still flexible considering it hasn't been officially announced.
Mhm.
But that is the range which we're expecting the game. Honestly, I haven't ever played Animal Crossing in any capacity. But I don't know, the way thinking about Animal Crossing on Switch just seems like whatever I needed to get interested in the series, it being on Switch seems to have piqued that.
Really?
Yeah. I
Interesting.
guess I think it's like the portability combined with the sort of greater infrastructure of the Switch, right? When it was on a console, it's like, I don't want to sit down and, I don't know, it just didn't seem like the kind of thing that I'd want to just sit down and spend 2 hours doing and be committed to that every single time.
Yeah, I think a lot of the charm comes from the fact that it's portable. I mean, I grew up playing the original Animal Crossing on GameCube, and I loved it. And I used to play it a lot with my sister. And when Wild World came out, the very first portable title on DS, I remember being incredibly hyped because we could take this in the car, I could take this to school, I could take this anywhere.
Yeah, I got really excited for Portable. And, like, I got City Folk, and I think Portable works so much better because I played City Folk a little bit. Mostly the only things I did were like run around in the city a little bit and then leave immediately. And then I made some patterns because I found a pattern maker. And then I got New Leaf and I never played City Folk again.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I touched City Folk.
I forgot that City Folk was a game.
City Folk is Wild World for Wii with City added.
There's a city now, I guess. Go shop? Question mark?
Yep. Go get made fun of by Gracie? Question mark?
Yeah.
Part of it too might be that nowadays I will know more people playing Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Whereas when the 3DS Animal Crossing came out, I didn't know that many people, and it wasn't until like long into the game's lifespan that I began to meet people who played that version of Animal Crossing. Because I think the multiplayer aspect is also a driving point.
The release date still boggles me. It seems like it's very early on in a year for a game we only have a very vague teaser of. Like, not even a full trailer.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
I'm not expecting much difference.
I was more expecting this around Thanksgiving or this holiday season this year.
Yeah, but then again, like I guess we got a very vague teaser for Ultimate only just a couple months before it came out, so...
Ultimate had a crazy hype campaign, though.
It did, but I mean, the very first teaser for it, though, was just Inklings, logo, Super Smash Brothers. Whoops, December. That was basically it, so I'm hopeful, and I'm confident that it'll be a good title.
Some of the reason that like all this news is coming out, I think I think Nintendo like had like a thing that they were gonna do in January, and then the deal with Metroid Prime 4 kind of threw everything off. So I think that's part of why this information has just been kind of coming out in like little dribbles. But they released a bunch of like, you know, yearly or quarterly earnings stuff, like how well different things sold, and like Smash Brothers is doing crazy,
as expected,
doing crazy good. But like it's like a million away or something not super significant away from like Brawl's lifetime sales already, which is pretty crazy for the Smash Brothers game on the best-selling system. Like, even though like Brawl is probably, you know, in the echoes of time, Brawl is probably going to end up just being the average worst received of the Smash Brothers games, but like everybody, even though everybody didn't like it, everybody still had Smash Brothers Brawl.
Oh yeah, I remember being really
and
excited
it certainly had its good points. Like
Yeah.
it's got the textures, I think, in Brawl are really nice, although the color is like really muddy.
Right. This isn't to bring up like whether or not Brawl is a good game. I'm just saying that like the fact that it's already like about to surpass the Smash Brothers game on the best-selling Nintendo console of all time.
I knew tons of people with Wiis, and everyone who had a Wii had Brawl. Like, bar none. There was no question about it.
They didn't. Yeah, so, they didn't play Brawl, but boy, they sure had it.
Speaking of Smash Brothers, how does everybody like our good favorite plant pot?
I'll tell you when I update my system and get the new 2.0 update.
It's pretty good.
Who has used the Piranha plant? Who has had an opportunity?
I have.
It's really good, isn't it? Though
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I really like Piranha Plant. It's let me say, it's really hard to use, right?
Yeah.
It, like,
cool.
I can only use Piranha Plant in like the 4-player battles when I do online battles, because if I get to any situation where it's 1-on-1, it's like I'm just gonna die. Like there's nothing I can do.
I did a pretty good job 1-on-1. I kept getting tripped up on side B.
Oh yeah, I had to figure that out. I figured that out.
Yeah.
Like, it took me a couple
But
minutes.
that like one hit killed the computer I was fighting. I was like, whoa, nice. But it was a little hard to figure out that one. But otherwise, I think it's okay. Probably not something I play too often, but
I just wasn't expecting Piranha Plant to be such a technical character. Actually.
yeah.
Everything about Piranha Plant requires like 5 seconds of forethought.
Yeah.
Because all of the moves take a really long... Like, you have to charge up the side B, which is this poison gas cloud that does a bunch of damage but doesn't like stun the person in it.
Yeah.
So it's basically area control, right? Like it's the idea of it is to either say you have to take a specific path to get to me or take a bunch of damage.
Right.
And then it's got its neutral special, which it blows a spike ball up in the air, and then you can like kind of aim it, but it's like really dependent on like how high it is above the piranha plant's head and how long you've held B. So you got to think about that. And then you've got the best move, which is the down special, where you turn it, you just pull yourself into the pot and then explode in not a random. You can pick it,
Yeah,
but
you
it's
can
really
select the
hard.
direction.
It's really hard to pick which direction to pop out. It's very difficult.
I've been watching videos of people online play with Piranha Plant because I'm interested in getting better with him. But it looks so difficult. I don't know.
I'm not in it for the forethought. I'm here to just press buttons and.
Yeah, that's my philosophy. I'm not here to be a competitive player. I just like pressing buttons and watching cool things happen.
Everybody smashes their own way.
I can't wait to see this character be played competitively.
Oh boy,
This
it's gonna
match
be
is
quite interesting.
This match is going to be insane to watch.
I still want any competitive scene to just play with items. It's like, I'm not really big into the competitive scene. I don't know a lot, but I do know that, like, rule number 1 of playing competitive Smash, no items.
Yeah.
And I think competitive Smash could, or at least, making a separate category with items would be really cool. Because think about it. Competitive players, they're best at improvising and reacting to quick changes in the situation. And what better way to further test your skill by implementing items, where you have to not only react to the moves of your opponent, but what items are on the field, what items your opponent is going to use, what items you can use. It adds a whole new layer of depth to the system. And I've heard people say that playing with items defeats the purpose of Smash. They're on by default, you fools.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think that items are great for Smash.
The items are the whole point. It's not a fighting game, it is a fighting party game. The whole point is to have a little bit of randomness, because if you add a little bit of randomness, everyone has a chance to have fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, obviously, having fun is not the point of a competitive
Yeah.
game, but I think that professionals could take items, this aspect which normally seems to be very random and seems to be a crutch for players who might be less skilled, and I think professional players, if they, invested the usual 7,000 hours that they put into these games, I feel like they could turn that into a spectacle, and I would love to see that.
I agree with you. The problem isn't that competitive Smash players wouldn't be able to use items in an effective way. The problem is that whatever part of your brain makes you want to be a competitive Smash player seems to be fundamentally separate or exclusive from the part of your brain that likes what items bring to the table.
Yeah.
Competition
I agree.
isn't fun,
Some
it's
of the items
work.
in Smash or in Ultimate are a little broken.
One of the things, assist trophies are just like...
Oh
Oh
assist
my God,
trophies are
assist trophies.
overpowered as hell.
Oh.
Assist trophies are a disaster.
But
Oh
come
my
on,
God.
I would love to see a competitive player using Banana Gun.
I think it's just one of those things where it's like, it could be a lot of fun to watch, but like just the people who want to do competitive Smash just don't want it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking about the kind of person who insists on playing without items when you're just like playing with friends, even if you're trying to be kind of serious about it.
I know people who
but
do that.
Yeah, so do I.
That's a bad time.
I don't play with people who refuse. Like, if you say, oh, hey, next time can we not play with items? Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if the first thing you tell me when I ask if you want to play Smash is say, is you turn off items? No. No. That's not how this works.
I have people that I play with where it's like a mutually understood thing that like when we play Smash together, we like to do it without items.
Yeah.
Because my roommate and I like went back and forth and trying to like basically one up each other and get good with certain characters to be better. Like there was an entire like 3 months where we just developed our own Mega Man versus Villager metagame. And we learned how all of the elements of those two characters specifically reacted against each other because we were just trying to be the person better with our character. So like you can have understandings like that, but once you expand it, you're gonna have to be more lenient because otherwise you're just a buzzkill. But you could also say the same thing for someone who like insists always that items need to be played and never takes a turn without items for someone who prefers not to have items.
Yeah, like the name of the game is just compromise and moderation for everything.
I turn off items.
I do too, but like I like playing. I go back and forth. Like I would just like to say I suck at Smash. So naturally, I prefer playing with items on, because when I play with items on, I do indeed have a higher chance of winning. But, like, I can appreciate the, kind of the, I don't want to say the rawness of playing without items, but the
simplicity.
Yeah, there we go. Simplicity. It's easier to focus on the combat.
I don't want to spend time picking up an item accidentally and then being like, oh, what am I holding? How am I using this? What is this? This isn't my normal move. Because that happens to me a lot. That's why I turn it off.
Which is the throw button.
Yeah, no, I'm immediately like, oh, I picked something up, throw. Done.
Get rid.
I pick something up, better jump off.
Get rid of as fast as possible.
Better jump off the stage so I don't have to deal with it anymore. I don't know how to drop this baseball bat.
How do I drop this?
So
oh no, guess I better just...
So Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's a game. Lots of people like it. Items.
I don't know if anyone's heard of it. Indie developer Nintendo.
A rare outside the mainstream gem. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah.
Still waiting on that Joseph Martin DLC.
Hey.
I'm working on it. So... the other sort of big thing that the internet is abuzz about, particularly even just like today, is, and I was originally going to say, the game Anthem released. That's not really true. The game Anthem is in the process of releasing.
What's
is
Anthem?
In the...
What's Anthem?
So did anybody watch... Where did this game... I guess it was... Oh yeah, it was the E3 presentation. No. It was EA's E3 presentation. They had this like half hour of it devoted to this one video game called Anthem. Am I the only person who remembered Anthem?
It's from BioWare, if anyone forgot.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. I wanted to make sure.
Initial release date is February 22nd, 2019.
Yeah, Google says it's not released yet. It's an open demo.
They had a VIP demo going on. It was alpha open... or beta. A beta,
Hold
probably.
on, I'm gonna...
Oh, I see the open demo thing, yeah.
Okay. Well, if it's made by EA, I'm automatically taking it with several grains of salt.
It's made by BioWare.
Okay. But it's being published by EA, and that's never a good thing.
Man, come on. You're gonna go into that whole circle thing?
No, I'm just saying that I'm not calling it a bad game. I would never do that. If it's made by BioWare, I'm not going to immediately write it off. Certainly not. I'm just saying that if EA has some kind of hand in it, then there's always the chance
Wait a minute. This graph doesn't make sense.
Everyone please take a look at the chart I have posted in the
Wait a minute.
Oh. What? Why do I need a spreadsheet to determine how to play?
Wait, what?
So the Anthem release,
and
this is
Xbox One.
Oh, I remember hearing about this now. Now I remember hearing about this. Yeah, this is dumb.
So I want to make a brief disclaimer here. This is not about necessarily the quality of Anthem as a video game. Like for people who are playing it, if you've been playing Anthem in its various potential states that you can play Anthem in, and you've been enjoying it, more power to you. This is not a discussion of its like game mechanics and stuff. The thing that has been going on is, first of all, the very first VIP demo was apparently a disaster. There was infinite loading screens.
Well, they didn't expect as many people to sign up for it as did, so they didn't really have the space on the servers for it.
But from the research I did, even though like that was the error message that was popping up, what they were saying was that it wasn't related to the server load. It was related to known bugs in that particular build of the game that they had thought that they had fixed.
I mean, if they thought that they had fixed them, then there's not really much you can say about it other than, oops, they forgot to fix it. They better fix it by final release.
Yeah, and it did get better, but it was like, this was like the first major launch of the game, and if it was going to be this widespread of a launch, you got to put your best foot forward. And then, so they fixed some stuff, and there were lots of other bugs and stuff that people weren't happy about. And then the next thing was this chart, which if you don't know what we're talking about, because a podcast is not a visual medium, if you just look up ways to play Anthem, there is this chart that tells you all the different means by which you can play Anthem and when, based on whether you have a Xbox One, a PS4, whether you bought this particular pack or this particular pack. It's kind of a mess.
It's also like I can see why they did it, but it doesn't make it any less scummy, because if you want to play the game a week early, you have early access to the full game, you have to already be paying for EA's subscription service to PC on top of pre-ordering the game. So,
a slight correction, that is something that is being stated a lot, but I think it's actually not true. It's included with the Origin access. Like, sort of like how... I may be wrong, but my understanding is that was a miscommunication that had been circulating around a lot. It's supposed to be like when you buy like PlayStation Online.
Oh, like PS. Oh, so it comes free with Origin access. Okay.
Yes.
You know what? Then that makes me less mad about it. I thought it was with a pre-order. I thought it was you had to both pre-order and do this just to get the game when they said they were going to release it.
James going straight for the jugular on this one.
I do that sometimes.
Well,
when I see like stuff that I think is scummy, I don't hesitate. I just
we all have
and
a
then
bad taste in
afterwards
our
I
mouth
realize,
because it's EA.
maybe I shouldn't have gone, full tilt on that. And then I backpedal a little bit, which is what I've done here.
Like, I can see from my perspective, what I think happened is that EA was like, all right, we're going to micromanage our, like, exclusive, like, we're going to take exclusivity deals to the next level, and we're going to talk to each individual company about seeing what we can squeeze out of them.
Yeah.
And what happens is that it creates just this communication mess, right? Because I think, James, what you're saying, like, while what your impression of the situation was incorrect, like, the fact that there's this huge mess and this whole complicated system of how it works is part of the reason why I think that is something that they're having trouble communicating.
Yeah, there shouldn't have been this big mess. Like, they shouldn't have needed this massive spreadsheet to tell you when you can and cannot play the game. It should be a simple matter of, did you buy the game? Yes, okay, well, here's when you get to play it. Or, hey, do you subscribe to our premium service? Yes, okay, here you go. But now it even depends on the platform as well, and it depends on what tier of the subscription you're getting, and it depends on, it's just that there was no need to do it this complicated. Like, I get it, EA, you want to make money, you want you also, and not only that they want to make money, but they want to promote their Origin access and EA access and all this, all of their exclusive stuff, because they want to push that. I get that. That's fine. But if you need to make a spreadsheet, I think you've gone... I think that's the real lesson here, is never make spreadsheets, ever.
How long do you think it took them to mock up
To be
that
fair,
sheet?
I don't even think this really needed the spreadsheet. It's not as confusing as the spreadsheet seems to make it look.
Yeah, no, it's not. But, they could have made this less confusing in various different ways.
And to add to that, I think part of that is that it seems like these details were not made public until right about now. Like, I think it wasn't... I think people knew that, certain things were going to be earlier than others, but, the reason that they made this chart was because it wasn't clearly communicated before. So even if, and this is the fastest way to communicate that information. Has anybody here actually played any of the Anthem demos?
No.
But while we're just dunking on it?
I didn't know it was here until today.
Nope.
I love BioWare, but I play them for the characters, and this doesn't seem to have that focus, so I might just skip it.
I don't want to use the term generic MMO, but generic MMO.
It's basically trying to appeal to the same crowd as Destiny does, with its online multiplayer. You get into these teams and you do these different missions to get loot that you use to upgrade your character, which there's nothing wrong necessarily. I mean, it's not a model that I'm particularly familiar with, but like Destiny is a pretty popular game. People have different opinions about it, but like it's a successful business model at that base level. I've tried to watch a bunch of videos and read some articles about trying to get a sense of how people feel about the game. And there's, different opinions about like the progression system and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're in it for like the narrative, I have not heard much about the narrative. It seems like most people who are really into the game are into it because of that, like you get a squad of 4 people with the 4 different like archetypes that the game has. And you go and do these missions, and that's what's really appealing to people. I just wanted to clarify, like, the scope of our criticism, because otherwise we're just dunking on this video game that none of us have played. That was everything that I brought to the table.
One thing that I brought, GameStop has been in the news this week as they, for those of you who don't know, they put the company up on the market for a buyer to take over it since they're losing money and whatnot. And recently this week they have taken it off the market and they're no longer looking for a buyer.
So that's good. They're doing fine then, right?
Yeah, definitely.
They're great.
But after they took it off the
turned
market,
around for GameStop.
It probably would have been, but after they took it off their market, their stock took a huge dive down, like plummet levels of dive down.
Ooh.
So yeah,
Can't say we didn't see this coming. They've kind of been haven't had the greatest business practices in the past few years.
GameStop's been struggling. They've been doing not so good.
It's just kind of like there's nothing that was really offered by GameStop that you couldn't get at any other just like store that also sold video games.
You go to Target.
Like even their like Target or Walmart or Best Buy. Like there's no reason to, if you really want a physical copy and you want to go into a store and buy it, there's not really something that GameStop provided that was separate from that. And you can get other stuff while you're there.
Even the pre-order bonuses were never that much to brag about.
The only reason I ever went to GameStop is because of Pokemon and the mystery gifts and like that sort of thing. Like that was the only GameStop exclusive that was like
Yeah, and James...
I went to see if Coley was working, and she never was.
And James, also, you didn't have to go into GameStop to get those.
Really?
There were multiple times where my parents would drive me and my brother, we'd park outside the GameStop. We'd get our mystery gift.
Oh, wow.
Just kind of sneak it out of there.
Let's be honest, though. That's less of a you don't have to go there and more you went there anyway. Now you're just sort of splitting hairs and you're being that little shit that's just sort of sitting outside, you know?
But you don't have to go into the store.
You're already there.
Avoiding as much social interaction as you can is the best thing.
There wasn't a reason to not go in the store, at least, like, because they usually don't require you to buy something with it in order to get, like, the mystery
They
gift,
don't
do they?
require it.
But that doesn't stop
I
them
went in
from
there and I
trying.
just grabbed the mystery gift. I just grabbed my, what was it? I think it was Victini from Pokemon Black and White. I think that was a GameStop thing. I'm pretty sure
I don't
it was.
remember which ones it was.
So I went in there, I grabbed my Victini, and I left. Like, just, that was it.
Yeah, I did the same thing with Meloetta. Just walk in, hey, I want my Meloetta, walk out.
The people at the GameStops that I went to were much more forward about trying to get us to buy stuff.
Hey, since you're here, do you want to buy all of these things?
Yeah, can you blame them? Another thing I've seen on YouTube is that apparently some GameStops will actually do console repairs. Like older consoles, like Xbox 360, PS3, that kind of thing. And then I've seen there's specifically a channel on YouTube, I think it's called Spawnwave. He talks about why they don't do a good job. So he says, hey, pro tip, don't do that. They don't do they do okay, but they're not great.
Jeddy, why have you posted a Google Maps images of half a GameStop?
Wait.
Because this is the picture of my local GameStop that some guy submitted this and was like, this is what it looks like.
It's a brick
There's
wall.
a
Just for
giant
GameStop.
brick. There's a giant brick pillar right in the middle of the photo.
And like the thing is
you
that
can see the side of his car from this. Like he pulled up slightly too far, just leaned out the window. It was like, it's good enough.
And
that's
he
all
was
they
like
could get.
me.
That's all they could get. Holy
He was like me. He didn't want to get out of his car
Yeah,
to
exactly.
get the Victini.
I hope
picture.
photography isn't this guy's day
Oh, the
job.
GameStop, get out of your car.
No, you're all focusing on that. I'm more interested in that Lane Bryant store next door. I mean, come on.
They probably have better
I'm going
policies.
to click the report a problem button with this photo. I'm going to report a problem. I can't see GameStop.
I don't understand what you're showing me.
There's an old rotted piece of gum on that brick right there.
Ew.
Maybe
Oh,
he's a
gross.
mason and he's just admiring the bricklaying work. Maybe there's something with all the spackle in there or something that he thinks is off.
Or maybe it's like a protest picture, and he's like, oh, come on.
This is what I think of GameStop.
I refuse to go inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
GameStop,
It's a
okay?
brick wall.
Soon, this will all be brick walls as the GameStops will close.
Oh.
It's artistic with the
There
garbage can in
is
the corner.
The thing is that there is a GameStop on the way. When I go to the grocery store, I always have to pass by a GameStop like right at the intersection. I guess I'll be keeping an eye on it, see how they're doing. I wonder if like things are gonna start turning into like more of a mom and pop is probably an outdated term, but I think it conveys what I'm trying to think of like more of like, because I think that
Brick and mortar.
like
Did
with
you
the,
just say
as
wait, brick? Oh, brick and mortar. I thought
Yeah.
you said Rick and Mortar, and I was like, was that
No!
Morty, we gotta open a video game store, Morty.
a Rick and Mortar?
No, bro, like,
all right, that's my
I
favorite
think the term
show.
you're thinking of is a brick and mortar store, which, I mean, with the photo, pardon the pun, but, like, that's...
Yeah, then no,
That's what I'm
I
thinking
get
of.
what you mean. Yeah.
but like I think because that there is a pretty significant retro game market, but not just because I feel like, and maybe this isn't true, but I feel like there isn't a super significant retro movie market in the sense that people really want. There's a couple of movies where people want like the original VHS of it.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
But I feel like with video games, there's more people who feel like the original hardware is like the authentic experience just because
Yeah.
of the way emulation works. Whereas with a video, like you can get it to look like it used to look if that's really what you're going for.
Yeah, I mean, speaking strictly as a collector, I have a large place in my heart for the original authentic media. And,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I use a CRT where I could have a flat screen because I just prefer the way everything originally was. It has a place in my heart. And I'm finding more and more that seems to be the case for people who play retro video games. They really prefer more authentic experiences.
I like being able to purchase the games and actually play them. Because sometimes the games that I want to play are expensive, and I'm like, can I get this cheaper, like, through an online store? I'm gonna do that. I only say that because I would definitely prefer to have, like, this is the only game coming to mind at the moment, a copy of Earthbound for the SNES, because I have an SNES, but
That game's expensive.
trying to get it would be expensive as hell, so I have it on my 3DS, and I've been able to play it on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just in for the experience in general and you just want to experience the game, period, end of story, there are, like, tons of great options today, and I think that's fantastic, that you don't have to go out and buy an authentic original copy. But I'm finding that there are just people who prefer to do that. I think a lot of the joy comes from, like, coming home and I walk in and there's just a shelf full of games and I can just look at them and pick one off the shelf and dust it off and pop it in and play it. There's just something so amazing about that feeling instead of just turn on and rifle through a catalog on my television screen.
So like the point I was trying to make though was like that when Blockbuster kind of went away, so did most like video rental in general. It felt like partially because kind of when Blockbuster came out, Blockbuster itself kind of was responsible for getting rid of a lot of independent video rental stores in general. But I feel like just because GameStop is disappearing doesn't mean that we're going to see an end of that kind of store.
Right.
Just like a chain devoted to it.
Yeah, like I can't speak for anyone else, but I've got this store called The Exchange. That's right around the corner from me. It deals in video games and also tons of other stuff like movies, TV shows, DVDs, collectibles, even. And it's up to date, but it also has retro stuff, and it's a chain. So I don't know if there's a widespread, and I know there are also smaller, as you were saying before, mom and pop stores around. And I feel like those ones are, at least the Exchange has been busier than any GameStop I've been to in the past several years.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I've been in there. So I'm hoping that means they're not going anywhere.
That's a good point that I wasn't really thinking about, but like sort of consolidating it into a certain set of media and products that like aren't necessarily the same thing, but sort of go together. It's like when you go on an online store and people say, people who bought this item also bought this. It's like that, but an entire store.
Right.
Yeah.
They're both video game stores, but one of them caters way more to a specific niche of gaming.
Yeah, it goes to a demographic rather than GameStop, which is marketing itself towards a type of media.
Yeah.
I would personally love, and like this, okay, and Nintendo's got their virtual console, right?
Yes.
Nintendo had their virtual console.
Listen,
did everybody pour one out?
They're working on it, all right? I was really critical of that at first, but now we've heard that there's probably going to be Super Nintendo games, and it's better than nothing, at the very least. It's not much better than nothing, but
that's all you can hope for from Nintendo. They just closed down the Wii store.
James, it wasn't an actual criticism. I just wanted to be snarky at you.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Well,
I just
I'm
want to
sorry.
be clear about that.
I'm sorry. I interpreted your snarkiness as a legitimate criticism that I agreed with. But anyway, I would love to see, maybe not so much with Nintendo, because there is no way in hell. Well, actually, now that I say that, I was surprised. Nintendo has surprised me yet again with their whole, their creators program shutting down and finally actually being, treating their content creators like decent human beings. But I would love to see a GameStop that's like emulation, like official emulation, like a stock just of all old retro games, arcade games. Like, imagine if you could like play MAME, like officially licensed like games on MAME, PS2 games, anything like that. Stuff that it might be a little bit hard to get where you are. Like older games that you can't necessarily buy used online, that kind of thing. You may not have the console for it. Like, it would be a heck of a lot of work and, a heck of a lot of licensing, I'm sure. But kind of like a Netflix for retro games. But not like one specific company. Like, just all sorts of companies. Like, you could get PlayStation games, you could get games made by Sony, games made by Atlas, by Sega, everybody.
So you're thinking of kind of like a digital-only GameFly? Does anyone else remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you said
when
you said Netflix for retro games, it's like that's called GameFly. But you're talking about digital.
Because the sad thing is that as someone who's like not really big into the video game like preservation scene, but follows it, the fact of the matter is piracy is the only way that we're going to be able to preserve a lot of video games nowadays. And I think that is a shame, because while I think piracy is, if that's the only way to preserve video games, then I do indeed condone piracy for that specific purpose. But I really, more than anything, wish there was a better way. And one of these days, I would love to see an alternative to that, as a way to just go up, look up a game you want, and just like be able to like buy the rights to play it again.
I agree.
The GameCola podcast is not to be held responsible for the opinions of people on the GameCola podcast. That opinion
is no one but my own. That opinion is my own and no one else's.
I think that would be a fantastic platform, and I would love to see that. The problem is that I'm sure a ton of companies would be on board, but of course there would be the big N saying, no way.
No.
And that's just something we'll have to deal with. And again, Nintendo has been surprising a lot of people lately.
I was very surprised.
They're changing in their policies. And I hope that one day, whether it's 10 years from now or 100 years from now, they'll eventually get on board with the idea that it's okay to let people play that, friggin' Metal Storm or something, like, all these games that nobody ever used to play and that certainly aren't making you very much money, but you have no reason to be withholding from everybody else.
When I first became a collector and I wanted to learn more about the games, I will admit, I emulated a lot of them so I could see what they were like. And
Matt,
like,
how could you?
I'm sorry, I'm a criminal. In the back of my mind, I felt bad that I had to do what is basically considered stealing in order to experience these games because they were not available anymore and they were too expensive to buy physical copies of. Games like Little Samson or Panic Restaurant that I'm still waiting to own.
And too expensive, but not to buy from the people who made it, right? Like, you're paying a lot of money to someone who didn't make it.
Yeah,
right,
like,
but
what
that's
right
exactly
does
the point.
Nintendo have to restrict access to games that they aren't selling? Like, what... You haven't sold these games for years. Clearly you have no intention of making money off of them.
Well, the short answer would be that, well, we might someday.
Yeah, but we all know that that's a load of words I can't say.
It's just because these games aren't at retail anymore, the people who are going to dictate the prices are just going to be the market itself. And the market dictates that Little Samson is like $1,200, and I can't do that right now, so whoops, emulation.
Oh boy.
So in conclusion, GameStop is not doing so great.
I have some good memories of GameStop, but the only reason is because it was like one of the few things to do at the mall that my boyfriend and I would go to during school, and it was just kind of nice to look around.
During school? Anna, did you play hooky to go hang out at GameStop?
In college.
Who
While
did?
we were away at college.
16-year-old Anna.
I couldn't drive until I was 19. I couldn't go anywhere at 16.
Hanging out in a GameStop in a trench coat on her DS.
I'm imagining more like a malt shop in the 50s with a GameStop next to it.
Just wearing a trench coat over my uniform.
Yeah.
If there were nuns at my school, they would have been like, they wouldn't have let us get away with that.
It's too bad there aren't any cheat codes for life.
You wouldn't download a car.
Grizzled 16-year-old Anna.
Cheat codes for life? You mean the old-timey column on
GameCola.net?
GameCola.
Yeah.
Actual
Cheat
internet
codes for
website.
life?
Actual internet website?
Yeah.
Wow.
GameCola.net. Cheat codes for life.
Yeah.
Speaking of video games, guys, video games, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all like video games.
I love video games.
I'm not getting a
Who
very
told
clear
you?
definition on that.
Now, do we like video games enough to play
No.
them?
I just get them and put them on the shelf. I don't know what all this playing is about.
Matt just collects them. I don't know if he actually
You
plays
do one
them.
thing as a collector. You do one thing, and that's buy games and never play them.
That's right.
You look at them.
We just get together once a month and talk about video games that we never play.
Yeah, we don't play any, but whoa,
Or
let's not
video
get ahead of
games.
ourselves.
Ew.
Jeez.
I try,
Man.
but they're all still updating.
Man, the box art for Super Mario Odyssey sure looks nice.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Man.
Wow, oh man, wow, you own that game? Hell yeah, I do. Oh man, what's it like? Oh, I don't know, I never touch it, it's mint.
I can't play it.
It's about 5 inches by 3 inches.
Yeah.
It's
Dude.
mostly red.
Oh boy, so cool.
We have the story for the
Play
next
it.
Toy Story right there. Like Mario,
Toy Story
Mario
5.
Galaxy being played by Kelsey Grammer.
Toy Story 5, the
boy.
digital age.
I think it's about time for us to start talking about video games that have been played by us in recent times. Jeddy, I want to start with you because I feel like you haven't gotten to say anything this podcast.
So do you recall the video games that I was discussing on the last podcast?
I think so.
Bold of you to assume we
Yeah.
remember anything from the last podcast.
I remember, hey, look, I listened to each podcast probably a total of 3 times in the course of it being presented. So yeah, I remember there was a whole section of the last podcast where it was
most of
just
the
Jeddy
podcast.
talking about games.
Yes, so...
Are you gonna say just like the ditto quotes?
Oh, no. I was just gonna follow up about my my discussion of Little Dragon's Café.
Yes, okay, I was
Good.
hoping that was the one you were
God.
going to update us on.
So,
I want to know what happens. I'm really invested in this, Jeddy.
okay, sadly, because I ended
Wait,
up...
just real quick.
Does your mom die?
Can you can you just bring everybody up to speed who maybe forgot or didn't listen to the last episode about what Little Dragon's Cafe is?
Okay, so it's basically Harvest Moon, but you take care of a dragon and you run a cafe. Like, it's by the people who made Harvest Moon, and you have this concept, like, going into it, that it's going to be like, oh, I have some kind of thing that I take care of, and there's a dragon. Like, you think it's going to be Harvest Moon, but you have a cool dragon that you hang out with. And instead, it's this really, like, it's not even like a business management sim. There's no money. Nothing that you do actually affects your workers. Nothing that you do actually affects the people that come in. There's all these things that are like, oh yeah, use better ingredients, or make new dishes or whatever. And after our discussion last time, I was like, I'm going to ignore all of that. I'm going to completely ignore whenever my workers are like, oh, we're so stressed, we need help.
Help.
I just ignore them. And I don't care about, like, trying to put better ingredients. I'm just like, whatever I get enough of every single day to not have to, like, worry about it.
And that's the true meaning of business.
Yeah, and it turns out that, like, there's no difference. There's no playing of the game. And so, like, I'm just burning through the stories because I can just go to sleep. I can just wake up, play the cutscene. There's nothing to do with these cutscenes. It's just like, you come in once a day and a cutscene plays. So it's just like, okay, well, I'll just watch the cutscene, go to sleep. The thing takes care of itself. Nobody cares if it's bad or not. Like, I'm not making any money, so the playing of the game is just stress. Like, it's just me worrying about stuff that doesn't matter because in the end, I get nothing for it.
Not even like a Luigi's Mansion style, like, this is how good your restaurant
You
was.
did
and
so
you get a
good.
little-
Here's a
That
million.
sounds like bad game design to me.
It sounds like life.
House.
Yeah, that sounds like real life, but unfortunately, real life is bad game design.
No,
I
no.
play video games to get away from this shit.
The graphics are
Focus too much
terrible.
on realism.
I need my ray
Yeah, I was
tracing.
outside yesterday, and the render distance was terrible.
I was stuck in the tutorial for 18 years.
Yeah,
Textures are muddy. The character models are ugly.
Did you hear about the temperature glitch that happened?
What?
Like half of the United States server, like the temperature, I think got like negated.
Guys,
like, it
it's
got
all right.
flipped.
They're
Okay.
using liquid nitrogen cooling. Okay.
You laugh, but it is cold as hell.
Yeah, no.
It's cold here.
Hell
It's
has
cold.
frozen over.
It's
I
over.
hate
It's
it.
cold here, Anna, and I'm not that far north.
No.
Who else got negative temperatures?
Hi,
Negative
we're in,
Fahrenheit
like, the
temperatures?
same
I have
area,
friends
though.
who are in negative 50.
what?
We got right at 0.
North Carolina coming at you.
I have friends in Chicago.
I'm in
and they're,
Virginia.
like,
It's
dying.
not that far.
-4 in Ohio a couple days ago.
Hey.
Meanwhile, I'm
We
over
had
here in
0.
California, and it's a nice balmy 65.
Shut up!
Yes, I was going to continue on to say that I gave up on Little Dragon's Cafe for a bit. I just got tired of, like, just going to sleep and watching these stupid cutscenes. So, I've been playing Y2K, if you guys have heard of it.
Nope.
YIIK.
It's one of those, like, oh, it's like Earthbound. And, like, that's kind of how it's advertised in some ways. Or at least, I guess that's how people talk about it, because, like, graphically, like, for being a 3D game, it's like a low-poly 3D with the Earthbound, like, aesthetic, I guess. It calls itself an RPG, but it's kind of more of a visual novel with voice acting. It's a buggy nightmare for $20.
Yeah, I remember I've been hearing about this game for a long time because I think of the voice cast was like a particular point of like how it's like a fully voiced game.
Yeah, like,
But, I mean, yeah, because it's I think part of the Earthbound, was like mostly the aesthetic of it. It's an RPG, but it takes place in like a modern time period.
yeah. There's a lot of things that I want to like about it, but there's so, like, it's very obvious that there was very little testing done Like, there's been, I think, 3 times now where I've found a place where I just had to reset the game.
Hmm. How long have you been playing it?
20-something hours.
Oh.
I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through, 2/3, something like that. There's a lot of things that I want to like about the game. I'm very conflicted. Who was I talking to?
Us?
I think you were talking to me about it.
No one.
Oh, that's
There
right.
was
Yeah,
no
because
You were
I
talking to me because I was talking about how all the menus and all the like the menus and the GUI looks like it's like placeholder.
I had a flashback to saying the thing about how, like, well, once you get about 5 hours in, that's when the story really starts.
Yeah. Oh, and then
Oh,
I
no.
went off on that because I thought because see that to me is the sign of a bad game.
James, have you also played this, or were you just talking?
No,
to
I was
Jeddy
just
about
talking
it?
to Jeddy about it. I think it was when we were
While we were waiting
recording,
for the D&D
Secret of
cast.
Mana or whatever it was.
Yeah. But yeah, like, the main character is, like, I guess purposefully unlikable.
Oh, I don't like that.
But
But I played Deponia.
he's not that...
Okay,
Okay.
Madam
I was about to
Deponia.
say,
Yeah, it's
but I
not
played
Deponia.
Deponia.
It's more that he's, like, he's just really self-absorbed and, like, oh, I have all these deep ideas. Like, I came back from college and everything's different
Oh,
and
no.
whatever. And, like, he's not a bad person. He's just, like, Mr. cis white male,
Oh.
like, hello, let me tell you about things that I clearly know more about than you do. But, like, several hours into the game, the other characters that you get introduced to are like, you're an idiot, stop talking. Like, it's pointed out that, like, this is not a positive. We're going through character changes, it's character building and stuff. It's like, you're 5 hours into the game at this point. And then, like, other stuff starts to happen and it gets interesting. But still, I can't get over... I spent half an hour fighting an enemy, one enemy, and I got 7 experience points.
No.
Out of 5, right?
No.
How many do you need to level up?
100. I mean, it's a static
Oh.
100 points every level.
For every level?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awful.
Wow.
And it's supposed to be interesting. Every character has their own unique little kind of quick time game that you play. Like, the main character has a record, like a vinyl record, and as it spins around, you have to hit, like, the colored spots in order to, like, do a combo. But, like, it gets to be stressful because every character has their own unique thing, and against different enemies, it goes faster or slower. Like, when you have to dodge or whatever, it goes faster or slower based on, like, your defense and the enemy's attack and blah, blah, blah. And, like, you can never get the timing right because it's always different. And every character, you're like, what was it again? And then, you know, you've got the guy with the camera roll that, you're supposed to press the button to, like, do the shutter at different times, but they're different buttons every time that you do it, so you can never memorize it. There's no getting good at it. It's stressful every time for half an hour that then just gives you 7 experience points, no items. I want to like the game, but it's just a big...
Why do you
I
want to like
think-
the game? It doesn't seem like the kind of game to like.
If I might contribute some of, I think, what we discussed. What I said was, from what I've looked at the game's website. I have not played this game, personally, but I have looked at the game, I've looked at the website. This very much seems like it was made by a very small team that didn't have a whole lot of experience designing a game. This looks like this was, like, their first shot at making a game.
Or at least making a game of this scale.
And it's gotten, like, 6 out of 10, 6.5, 5 out of 10, and, based on the GameCola rating of 5 is average, that's decent. But most places, use the whole school grading system where 7 is average, etc. And
I like ours.
personally, I would say that for a first attempt, this isn't great, but it's not, like, awful. It's just kind of a game. It's just kind of a meh experience. And I can see why you'd want to like it. Because, it's nice to see people, especially as someone who wants, and still wants to develop their own video games. It's nice to see fresh faces. It's nice to see, passion and, determination in the game scene. But then... along with that, it comes the inexperience and, the lack of really knowing how to properly execute the vision that you have in your head. And I think
Yeah.
that's more along the lines of what happened here. Perhaps some time constraints. They just kind of did this game get delayed at all, or?
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't really keep up with.
It's been in public production since forever.
So it really seems like this game probably had some troubled development. So I honestly hope that these people don't get discouraged by perhaps lackluster sales or anything like that. And I hope that perhaps they can use this as a learning experience to make an even better second game.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's part of it, is just that, like, oh, I can feel where they're coming from, and like these are concepts that, like, at some given point I was like, oh man, but what if every character had their own unique attack style? And like, what if the attacks went faster and slower based on your stats or whatever? It's like, well, now I can see that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, you empathize, but at the same time you have to draw a line.
Yeah, like, I can appreciate that they did it. They went for it. Thank you. Now I see that I don't need to.
Now we know.
The rest of the story.
Has anybody, well, I guess I know the other game that we should probably talk about because it's on everyone's mind. Everyone's favorite game, Kingdom Farts 3.
What's Kingdom Hearts? I don't know. That's a lie. I actually do.
Anna,
but
I don't
know
think you heard.
else.
Did you? Because I didn't say Kingdom Hearts. Because I was telling a joke, I said Kingdom Farts instead. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, I'm hilarious.
Yes.
Explaining jokes is funny.
Yeah.
Kingdom Blarts.
Can I get your autograph?
Oh, now there's the next world they're going to.
Yeah.
Anna, are
The
you
new
Kingdom
Mall
Blarts.
Cop DLC world.
It's got a Keyblade that turns into a Segway.
Yeah, everyone turns into Segways.
I finished half of a bottle of wine and have moved on to more alcohol. I just need you to know that. So if I start laughing, God damn it, Jeddy.
No! It's going to be an interesting remainder of the podcast.
Kingdom Blarts, Heart Blart Ball Card.
Heart light bark heart dart bark. Kingdom. Hey, it's all right. They're gonna go to a. They're gonna go to a. They're gonna go to a pub and then they're gonna go play some Kingdom Dart.
This is the best picture to exist of all time. And I'm
Why didn't they
really
put the face on
angry.
Goofy?
Yes, Kingdom Blarts.
I hate this.
That's amazing.
Then they're not gonna feel so good. Go to the toilet and have some Kingdom Sharts.
Then they need to go get some medicine. Go to the Kingdom Drug Mart.
Hey.
If you need to know where to buy this game, you can consult your Kingdom charts.
Yeah. Oh no, my car broke down. I'm gonna need a Kingdom Jumpstart.
I hate everything.
This conversation is really Kingdom Smart.
I hate everything about this. This is the worst podcast of all time ever.
If this game was edible, would it be Kingdom Tart?
Oh. All right, I think we've run this joke a little dry.
Out of all 7 of us, how many of us played this game? 1?
I might if I actually had a PS4, but I don't.
I bought it. I haven't played it yet because I'm still busy with other things, but I definitely own it.
The only thing I know about it, aside from the trailers, is that you can take pictures and the different characters have different reactions to being in your picture frame.
I know Winnie the Pooh is in it.
I also know that Donald Duck very often says, this looks like a good place to find some ingredients.
This looks like a good spot to find some ingredients.
But like,
He says it.
Wow.
He says it so slowly
That
every
was
time.
really good.
I was getting more Gollum than Donald, but good on
Yeah.
you.
That's all I can do.
What was it, Final Fantasy 15? I've come up with a new recipe.
It's amazing that there's a YouTuber I watch who's playing the game, and he is keeping a counter for the number of times where they say in order Sora, Donald, Goofy, because they say that exact phrase like a bajillion times.
It's been like that every single game.
Yeah, Sora, Kingdom Hearts 2 was where it got big. Like the first game, it was a little bit, but the second game, they really upped the Sora, Donald, Goofy meter.
And they do it so slowly too. It's like, hey, Sora, Donald, Goofy. Hey, it's like, no,
it's
Sora,
like
Donald,
Sora, Donald,
Goofy.
Goofy.
It's like Mickey Mouse is their mom. And it's like, Sora, Donald Goofy. Go to your room.
Oh, gosh, Mom.
Anyway, Dan, can you please tell us about this actual video game instead of us just making jokes about it?
I mean, if you've played Kingdom Hearts before, it's more of the same. Basically, anyone who hasn't played Kingdom Hearts, it is anime, Final Fantasy, Disney, rolled into one big disgusting ball and shoved in your face. And it's delicious and horrible and the best thing ever. And I just can't stop playing it. Honestly, plays really well. Like, it's an action RPG. You hit things with a key, because of course you do. Why not? Because symbolism is the name of the game, even if it symbolizes nothing. And in this case, everything is symbolism, and it all symbolizes nothing. And no one knows if how you say the actual name of the game. It's Kingdom Hearts or Kingdom Hearts, where you put the emphasis, and no one cares because no one actually it's an entire mess. It's a mess, and I love it, and I hate it, and I love it.
They also
It's a
did
mess.
some nice trolling though with the if I might like. Can I like spoil like the first thing that you see after the opening like cutscene?
No!
Like the opening story thing? Oh no? Alright.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, do it.
Do it? Alright. So basically, Kingdom Hearts is known for being a series which has some absurd and complicated game names.
Dude, come on, man.
Like,
Spoilers.
I think the latest was like Kingdom Hearts 2.8, A Fragmentary Passage, or something like that. Or maybe those are two different games. I don't even know anymore. I'm just lost. So at the start of the game, you go to the first area, and as you travel there, there's a fade to black, and then on screen appears Kingdom Hearts 2.9.
Yeah.
and I swear that
was
is
funny.
the best thing I've ever seen in a Kingdom Hearts game, because they've finally become self-aware and realized, hey, these names are stupid.
Oh, they make fun of Sora so much in this game.
Yeah,
It's
they do.
hilarious. Like, one of the first things he does when they get to their ship and everything, he notices that they hear a sound, and Sora's searching around. Apparently, he has a phone now. A really
Of
weird,
course he does.
Yeah.
weird, dorky-ass looking phone. The ringtone is a song from the game, of course. And he has no idea what it is because Sora's a dumbass. In all of these, he's a dumbass. But this time, they actually call him out on it constantly.
Yes.
And it's great. But, like, when he finally answers, it's Chip and Dale on the other end. And they're, like, yelling at each other, like, hey, he finally picked up! And, like, Donald and Goofy are, I think, and Jiminy, too, they're all yelling at him for not understanding what's going on.
Good.
It's very good.
Um,
It's a good game.
So Kingdom Hearts 2.35 out of 5
Over 7 days.
Damn it. It took
over
my
7
turn.
days. Has anybody else been playing some good video games?
Ooh. Well, I have been playing Remake 2, which if you don't know what that means, that is the Resident Evil 2 remake. And I don't like horror games. I never liked horror games. I like horror games now.
So you picked this one at day one, natural impulse.
Yes, I did actually, because I was like, you know what? I've heard a lot of people say Resident Evil 2 is really good. I think the series is super cheesy as hell, but I think I've liked some of the stuff that they do, and I said, you know what? I've never liked horror games, but I am going to give this one just a good old, college try and just give it a shot, open mind, try it out, because I'm sure it's going to be good. And it is amazing.
I've heard that the gameplay style of the remake, though, is pretty different. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't have fixed camera
it
angles
is.
or tank controls.
But I understand that there's people that really like those old games were definitely designed around their control scheme, and the ability to remove them while keeping, the fixed camera angles and the slow zombies is weird. I've played some of the remake of the original Resident Evil, and it's alright. For what it is, it's good. You can tell that it seems to be rather well designed, and it's kind of cool to be able to pull off, neat dodges around the zombies, but it's something you have to get very much used to. With this, now that they've adapted sort of, a non-fixed camera angle, a user-controllable camera angle, they very much shifted the focus of the game, the design of the game. And again, I'm by no means an expert of the original Resident Evil games. I've never played or finished any of the other Resident Evil games, and I don't know anything about Resident Evil 3, but what I can tell you is that as a game, just coming at this fresh, not having any reservations about what a Resident Evil game should be, this is phenomenal. The atmosphere is great, the voice acting is great, the motion capture is great, the game looks gorgeous, and it runs really well even on my 4-year-old PC. And the horror is great. Like, aren't really any like cheap jump scares. It's all very clever. There's a lot of extreme just buildup of tension, and especially as someone who's not familiar with horror, I was thinking, oh, I'm just gonna be, wetting myself the entire time. No, but you're just on edge the entire time that you're playing this game. And there was a great little jump scare. I jump scared myself. I walked out of this one room and into like a room that was full of lights, and I was like, oh, this is great. I was looking up at the ceiling, and then I remembered, oh wait, there was an item I was supposed to pick up in the previous room. And when I left the previous room, I had walked through that area kind of looking down at the ground, kind of looking around for maybe crawling zombies, that kind of thing. And so I was kind of looking up at these chandeliers that were in, I think it was a library. And so I'm still kind of looking up, and as I walk back into this previous room that I left, the ceiling in the old room collapses out, and just this dead body falls from the roof and jump scares me, and I'm like, ah! And it's very cool because I believe the way that they kind of get you in this game is they seem to have scripted events which happen if you're looking at them. Like, so, if you're not really looking around, you'll go through a whole area and it'll be totally fine. Nothing will happen. And then if you come back and you're doing something slightly different, well, you might trigger something unexpected that will happen that'll catch you off guard, even if you're going back through the room multiple times. And I think that's really cool. It keeps everything fresh, and it keeps you on your toes. And by the way, I have not even come close to finishing this game. I would guess I'm maybe halfway through, but just so far, it's been great. And the other thing is the dogs. If you've played this game, or even other Resident Evil games, I think you know what I'm talking about. God, I hate the dogs in this game. They are way too hard to hit. But, I mean, aside from that little minor thing, it's just, I love it. I love the puzzles in it as well. It's really nice. I actually went out and I grabbed a pad of paper to solve a lot of these little puzzles. Like, there's these little lock boxes that you have to press buttons in the correct... You have to press 8 buttons in the correct order. But you can write down... what you can do to make it easier is you can actually just write down, like, on a piece of paper, what buttons activate, like, what locks, and then kind of solve the combination that way. And it feels really satisfying. So, but I think that's about the breadth of my experience so far. Just dead silence after that.
I have no familiarity with this game series, so I can offer literally no input. Do we have any other quick notes about games we've been playing?
I'd like to, I guess, mention that I'm finally at the very end of my Gotta Catch 'Em All Gen 2 run of Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, God.
Ooh, my favorite gen.
Mine too, except maybe not after this.
Roaming Legends.
Yeah, right? I figured out a system for those, don't you worry. But
yeah.
I finally finished up like my last series of trades, and there's just like 2 or 3 Pokemon left that I just, for whatever reason, neglected to catch while I was just roaming around. So I gotta run back, grab those, and then head to Celadon in Kanto and get myself 3 more diplomas, and I will have completed Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, and Crystal. And I will be very happy.
So what are the 3 that you have left?
Remoraid, Teddiursa, and Phanpy.
Do you have their evolutions?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
How does that work?
Because for whatever reason, in certain patches of grass and in certain caves, you can encounter both the base Pokemon and its evolved form. And for whatever reason, those 3, well, you can't encounter an Octillery, but I caught a Remoraid in Gold, and I evolved it before I traded it over to Crystal and to Silver, like an idiot. So I have to go catch another Remoraid. But I caught an Ursaring in Dark Cave, and I caught a Donphan on Route 45, because they're like, I think they have like a 15% encounter rate, but their base forms, Teddiursa and Phanpy, are only like 5%. So I was just like, I'll get them later. I'll go back and get them later.
You could Can you breed for them?
You can, but it's way easier to just catch them. Yeah, because breeding in Gen 2 is, I mean, it's at its base form before it got way better and they fixed all of the problems, and it takes way too long to breed, and it involves a whole lot of different steps and finagling to make sure everything is 100% perfect. I mean, you can still put whatever Pokemon you want in the daycare with a Ditto, but that takes almost the longest amount of time to generate an egg.
Yeah.
And then you have to get the egg, and then you have to walk around until the egg hatches. I'd rather just spend 15 minutes in some tall grass.
I wonder if that was originally meant to be like balancing. Like, it's like, hey, the easy way to do it is the Ditto, but if you really want to, get it done quick.
Well, yeah, because, like, the idea behind... Because, like, all the rules... And I don't know... I know that this is the case now, and they may have changed it a bit. But, like, it's faster if they're the same type of Pokemon. And if they're, like, from different trainers, it's also faster. So the idea there is to encourage trading, basically. But, yeah, so are you going to take a break before going on to Emerald... and the like?
Here's the thing, because getting every Pokemon in Gen 3 without any resets, which is unfortunately the criteria I've set for myself, requires playing not only Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, but also Fire Red and Leaf Green, and also XD and Coliseum. So, yeah, so that's going to be 7 games at one time. I mean, I play them one at a time and then go back and finish up what I couldn't do the first time in each game that I played previously. Mm-hmm. Like, with 3, it's kind of easy. I mean, I started this quest in late July last year, so we're going on more than half a year that I've been doing this. And I've had a lot of fun with it. It's been tedious, though. And doing this with now more than double the amount of games for Gen 3 is going to destroy me and might take more than a full year to do. So I think I will be taking a break, if not doing it at all. I definitely want to. I just don't know.
Here's an idea. If you do Gen 3, then Gen 4 might be significantly easier because you can just PAL Park all of their Pokemon from Gen 3, because you can PAL Park, like, pretty much all of them.
See, the problem with the PAL Park, though, and I agree, it makes it easier, is you can only PAL Park 6 Pokemon per day, and even if you reset the clock, the game knows that it still hasn't been 24 hours.
Well, you have to do it, because I tried the same thing back in the day. The timer resets. Yeah. The 24-hour timer resets whenever you change the clock.
Yeah. Some people just collect stamps.
Yeah, but what's the fun in that? You can't. You can't battle stamps.
Then you can still enjoy your video games in that case.
I can't fight your stamps.
Fight your stamps against someone else's stamps, because then they get bent and then they lose their stickiness, and then.
Not with that attitude.
I will admit, this is actually like a pretty good segue into something else I've been having fun with Pokemon Gen 2 is there are stamps, because I have a Game Boy printer that works, and you can print out your Pokedex entries and stick them onto stuff. So nice. I collect stamps too now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that was one of the nerdiest things I've ever heard.
Dude, I only printed out a couple of my favorites because, let's face it, 251 entries is a lot of ink. So
I feel like I need to go watch some football now. I don't even like football.
Yeah, Pokemon printer ink is probably the cheapest ink, or not the cheapest ink.
Oh man,
that exists. Anyone else?
Yeah. So as you know, with my PS4 and whatnot, I'm bouncing on and off of it every now and then. My roommates have been playing a lot of Skyrim and Call of Duty on it. I recently got Red Dead 2, so we've been fucking around with that for a bit. And just seeing all the dumb stuff we can get into. Like, we're not even doing the story, we're just running around and doing crazy stuff. Segueing to what James was talking about, I just got Resident Evil 2. I'm gonna probably play that tonight, but I've also been playing, in hype for it, I've been playing the PS4 port of Resident Evil 4, which is one of my favorite games of all time. It's not survival horror-esque, it's more like survival action. It starts off survival horror because you're like, oh god, it's a very creepy town and whatnot, but then you slowly realize none of this is phasing Leon, the main character, at all. So it's slowly, you aren't phased by it, so instead of being scared by all the monsters, you're like, yep, that exists. Bang, bang, bang! And you're pretty much an action hero. I just finished defeating a boss where it pretty much just formed up. It's all grotesque and eerie and whatnot, and Leon's just like, huh, another monster that'll be gone in the next like 20 minutes or something like that. So yeah, that was fun. Love playing that game. Yeah.
Radical.
So, I played a lot of Stardew Valley around the time we recorded the last podcast, and then I kind of just stopped. Because I go through time where I go from, I'm going to play all the video games, to I'm going to do literally anything else that is not playing video games. So that kind of just ended, and I'm back at the beginning of the cycle where I'm playing all the video games. I played Super Smash Brothers for like 2 minutes last night to play the Piranha Plant, who I keep wanting to call PD Piranha. I've been playing a lot of House Flippers again, which I haven't played since October, and they made a lot of cool updates, I guess, since then. I've started playing Curse of Monkey Island again, because I really like that game. I started playing Night in the Woods again last night, too. So I've just been playing a bunch of games in a very short amount of time for a very, very short amount of time. One of these days I'll do a Night in the Woods review. It'll be great.
Just to wrap things up, because we have been going for a very long time. I've been spending most of my time playing Pokemon Randomizer. I don't know if you guys have heard something like that. But basically, you do a thing, and it makes all of the Pokemon that you encounter in a game. I've been doing Fire Red random. So I've been doing a Randomizer Nuzlocke. It's a lot of fun. Maybe an interesting way to collect all the Pokemon.
Who was your starter?
Whismer. It was funny because it was like the options were, I think, Whismer, Charmander,
whoa,
and Caterpie, and I was like, well, I can't pick Charmander.
You could though.
So I picked.
Yeah, the game basically picked for you.
So I picked Whismer, and then later one of the Pokemon that I caught was a Charizard.
Oh.
And the Loudred died. So.
Oh.
I've never understood Nuzlocke. Like, why would you want to permanently kill Pokemon?
It's the same reason why people do speed runs and challenge runs of games. It's just an extra challenge.
Yeah, it just makes it harder.
Yeah, but, speed runs generally don't involve, soul-crushing death.
No, they involve soul-crushing time loss.
Yes.
Yeah. Most, like, I'm a heartless monster, James. I just feel like, man, I spent a lot of time leveling that thing up, and it's gone forever now, huh?
Yeah, see, like, well, honestly, I guess the loss is actually kind of similar now that I think about it. It's just a loss of time, one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
My current team is, there's a Charizard. The powerhouse of the team is Electabuzz. And then, what else? I've got a Breloom, excuse me.
What?
There have been a lot of deaths, so I've got a Dragonair now that I've been grinding up. I've got a Starmie, or Staryu, it's still Staryu actually, because I've got to get it up. I'm at Blaine right now. But my water type got beat up. I had a Huntail that was like level 40. And then it fainted, and so now I have to get a Staryu up to a Starmie so that I can actually fight Blaine. Oh, and a Shedinja, which is the most playing with fire of a Nuzlocke.
Shedinja. Oh, my favorite Pokemon. That isn't one of my favorite Pokemon.
My favorite, least favorite Pokemon.
Yeah. Also, just to let you know, Starmie, you need a Water Stone. So, I mean, yeah, worry about leveling, but if you want the Starmie...
That's a good thing to know.
You need a Water
I was
Stone.
wondering why it was taking so long. But it was only like level... I would have probably looked it up eventually, because it's only like level 25 right now. But
I think anywhere
thanks
like...
for the tip.
Yeah, no problem. I think like for Pokemon that use Evolution Stones, I think anywhere between 25 and 30 is a good level point to use the stone.
The other thing I played a little bit of on the Nintendo Switch Online NES library was The Adventures of Lolo, which is better than I thought. It's a puzzle game. It's not fantastic.
I got stuck after like the second level and couldn't progress.
It's not very clear about how certain mechanics work.
You really need the manual.
You need the manual.
And even then, it's not... Like, I looked up some stuff, and I still can't figure it out.
I hate any level that uses, like, the water. Like, you have to put a thing into the water.
Oh, yeah, the current.
Yeah, you have to push the eggs into the water, but then...
Because there's no way to tell how it's going to work.
I think that, like, as much as I love Lolo, I think the main thing that takes away from the game is just, you collect hearts to find power-ups, but only some hearts give you power-ups, but all the hearts look the same.
So you basically have to die on a couple of levels as you try to figure out which things do what.
Yeah, that game is like a first-timer's nightmare.
So I'm most of the way through. I think I'm on like the last floor, and I just haven't finished it up.
Good luck. It's a game I really enjoy, so it's good to see that people are actually giving it a shot on the NES online.
But I think we've talked about a lot of things today on the GameCola podcast. I think it's about time for us to wrap up.
Or we podcast all night.
With that said, thank you for listening to this very long, jam-packed edition of the GameCola podcast. If you like what you heard, please be sure to check us out on our actual internet website, GameCola.net, or on our YouTube channel, GCDotNet, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, and the word net for videos, as well as where we post some of our other podcasts. And if you like podcasts from us, you can also check us out on iTunes, and you can see all the podcasts that we have, like Hacks and Slash, reading fan fiction, video game fan fiction of questionable quality, or the Secret of Mana RPG casts, where myself, Jeddy, James, and Anna are the characters in Secret of Mana, and we play the game.
Have a great time.
We do indeed. It's very fun.
So if you like us, go to iTunes, rate us highly, leave a review. It really helps us out. If you do that, it helps the podcast get spread. You could also tell a friend about one of the podcasts that you like.
Tell your friends about the show.
Mm-hmm.
Tell your friends about the show. That's the thing you need to know. Hello, my name is Joe.
Wow.
Nice.
Pretty good.
Anna, take this away from me for a little bit.
Hi,
It's your
we
turn.
also have social media. We are GameCola on Facebook and on Twitter. We are at GameCola. If you ever want to talk to us, do that on those things.
You can also tell your friends about these places
Yeah, and you can also come to our Discord.
where you
It's a
can
party.
find friends.
Yeah, where you
Where
can
you
find
can-
Be our
friends to
friend.
talk about games with.
For
Yeah, if you don't
free,
have any
be our
friends to
friend.
share Game Cola with,
Yeah.
you can go to our Discord to get friends to talk about Game Cola with.
Yeah, be our friends.
Yeah,
We
we're
like
there.
friends.
Please.
We have things like a picture of Kirby and the Piranha Plant outfit.
It's adorable.
A funny video.
We talked about dabbing
where-
before this, so.
Oh
It's
yeah.
true.
where-
We did talk about
a
dabbing.
funny
It was
video
great.
where Link fights a Sky Guardian on his metal flying pirate ship that he made. Fun stuff like that.
Wait.
We-
Why does Mario wear a hat?
What does where Mario wore a hat?
Because he is bold.
Okay.
What kind of overalls does Mario wear?
Denim,
Stop
denim,
it.
denim.
Denim.
Oh my gosh!
You're
We also
all
have a
terrible.
Twitch, twitch.tv/.
You're missing out on all this by
email
not
us
being on the
questions.
Discord.
Be our
Yeah.
friend.
You can email us questions at podcast@gamecola.net
Please.
or on the aforementioned Discord.
This is going well.
Don't forget to find
You're
us on
doing so good.
CompuServe.
Joe, are
and
you proud of
Usenet.
us?
Yeah, we're also
I don't know what's
Friendster.
going on.
Live journal.
check out our BBS.
The podcast is ending now. Have a wonderful time of day wherever it is, whenever it is. You're listening to this mess, this disaster.
This is the
Goodbye.
Stay warm.
furthest thing from a
Bye-bye.
disaster. Bye.
Bye.
So, sorry for my
YIIK.
tone earlier,
YIIK.
Jeddy. I thought you were going to tell us something about the temperature where you are.
Oh no, it's like it got down to like -1 or whatever. But I was just
So,
going back to the actual.
Did your
Wait,
mom
are you not
die
in-
in the
Are
game?
you not in, are you not in Florida?
I haven't been in Florida for a year and a half.
I don't remember things, Jeddy. I don't remember
Joe.
things. I'm
That's
sorry.
all right, Joe. I had no
You
idea
were
where
like
anyone
a
was
while
either.
ago. How do
I
I, remember
slowly
this?
Okay. Because I know in Florida it's just very warm, and that would have been funny. I think my brain decided to forget that piece of information
Yeah.
because it would have been funnier. Because in Florida it's like 50 degrees or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, Y2K, the video game.
Yeah.